The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Secretary. I'm the last one on this side, I guess, but hopefully not the least of the group. But I do take a different position. And I've spoken out on this, and I'm sure others are aware of this. I'm strongly opposed to this war. I see no purpose in it. And I get thousands of letters on this, and even Mr. Smith a few minutes ago said when he talks to his people back home, they can't understand what we're doing. And a lot of people still believe in this country that for us to initiate a war is hardly good sense in solving problems. You know, a lot of people in this country still believe in negotiation and containment. And even I was called up in the military during the Cuban crisis. And missiles were 90 miles off our shore. And we didn't have to go to war over this. And we settled this. And here we are. We have a country that you even admit is greatly weakened from where it was before. And they're 6,000 miles away. They're half the size of Texas. They have a GDP that is 20% less than that of Idaho. And we're willing to make this commitment to war. There's just a lot of people are really still concerned about this. And the concern, I think, shouldn't be fluffed off, because I think they're very serious and they have good reasons to be concerned. They're concerned about, you know, a massive expansion of the war. Some people even say, who knows, this could end up in World War III when we think of what the Muslim Arab world now thinks of us. And this could lead to something unheard of. And this is historic, because look at what happened in Vietnam. Nobody planned that. The costs can be out of control. And we can end up with somebody worse in Iraq. So there's a lot of reasons why we ought to be careful on what we do. And if we were able to handle the Soviets, I just can't see why we have to be so determined that we have this all-out fight. But my question has to do with anticipation of this uprising, which didn't occur after the Bay of Pigs, of course, didn't occur after Persian Gulf War I, that we're going to liberate these people. A good example of this, and this is minor, I realize this, but this was not anticipated. This is in the Wall Street Journal 2 days ago, and this has to do with, in the headline says, tough Bush protests on human rights backfires in Egypt. I had no problem with what the president said, you know, about complaining about Abraham being put in prison. But the surprise was that the human rights groups in Egypt are standing up for the government and attacking us. And they very subtly said, this was their answer: any foreign interference in our internal politics is an insult. Who else spoke out against that? The wife of the man that was in prison, implying that we ought to stay out of this, that we're making the problems worse. So my suggestion here is, do we really know? And what are the unanticipated consequences that can occur? 20 Arab nations voted to condemn our plans to invade and to initiate this war. So what kind of assurances can we give the American people for all these individuals who are so anxious to go to war, that there will be, you know, at least a reception over there when there's no indication that there's support among the Arab nations and no European nation is for it? It'll be very interesting to see what happens in Germany this weekend, because it'll be a pro-American or an anti-American vote, and we may well lose it. And Tony Blair may well lose it too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Nobody is looking for a war if a war can be avoided. The President didn't go up to the UN to declare a war. He went up to the UN to declare a problem. The Cuban Missile Crisis lasted a few weeks. This has lasted for 12 years. President Kennedy didn't negotiate out of the Cuban Missile Crisis simply because he and Khrushchev got along well. Khrushchev didn't have the cards, and President Kennedy had the power, and it made it clear that he was not going to tolerate this, and he would take action. It was not just stop your ships from coming, but if you don't stop those ships from coming, turn around and get this stuff off the island of Cuba.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
Okay.
No, sir.
I just want to add
Yeah.
that we took our missiles out of Turkey at that particular time as part of the negotiation.
That was part of the negotiation, and the negotiation finally solved it. But that negotiation would not have been successful. The action that Khrushchev took would not have been taken if he wasn't sure that you were being called up, not just for a jaunt in the swamps of Florida, but you were being called up at that time, Mr. Paul, and I was being activated and pulled out of my unit in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and getting ready to be sent to Florida as well, because President Kennedy was deadly serious and Khrushchev knew it. Now, in order to make the pill go down a little easier, we subsequently made the deal with the missiles in Turkey. Right. But there was no doubt about American determination and American purpose at that point. And I would submit that it wasn't just negotiations unbacked by force that did it. That we had the force to prevail, and Khrushchev did not. And he turned around, and he also lost his position in due course because he had played in the game he should have been playing in. I understand the concerns you raise, Congressman Paul, and we know that much work has to be done in the Arab world, and I'm hard at work doing that. I also know that the United States is looked to as the arbiter in the world on so many issues, so many crises, and the one thing we do that sometimes gets us in trouble in places is that we do speak out for human rights. And we do speak out even when people may not want us to speak out, even when people may object to us, quote, interfering in their internal affairs. But we do it because we believe there are universal standards of human rights and justice. And it's been a hallmark of American foreign policy for many, many years, and I think it has to continue to be a hallmark of American foreign policy if we're going to remain the nation we are and the inspiration of the rest of the world. It is always easier for me to go visit a leader and not talk about human rights. Nobody wants me to talk about human rights when I come visit them or when they come see me, but they hear it because it's part of our foreign policy, and we would not be true to our nation and our foreign policy if we did not. And over time, our message tends to penetrate, and our message tends to inspire people to want a different kind of regime and a better life where such things can be spoken about.